Hello viewers, welcome to Sattology session with Abhijit Iyer Mitra and myself Aditya Satsangi. And today, we are discussing Hinduism as the one of the foremost economic systems. It presents in form of Chanakya Arthashastra. And I think the most of the philosophies, economic philosophies of the modern world have actually come from Chanakya, and somehow the credit is not given to the Hindus. And it is for us to, when we're living in the USA, for the Americans to know that the original capitalistic system of the world is the Hindu culture. And just 200 years back, Hindu culture, Hindu India, or whatever you call India is a name given by the British, but Hindustan or Bharat was the world's richest country. Bharat controlled more than 26% of the world trade, and which the position US is today in. So I would like to you to watch this video and comment on it when you get a chance. Don't forget to subscribe our YouTube channel, Sattology, which is a non-profit which only works for promoting history. And I would love you to subscribe to that. Thank you. Namaskar and welcome viewers to this exciting discussion with Shri Abhijit Iyer Mitra, my good friend and a very phenomenal speaker. You must have seen him in many Indian channels. Now today I asked him a very pointed question, and a little bit the recording is off, but pointed question that why Hindus are considered weak. And the general accusation is the Hindus are weak and practically they're infidels by many people. To that question, he has this to answer. Thank you for joining and listen to this answer.
Time they stand up. Why does Chittorgarh stand up again and again, get destroyed again and again? The women commit Jauhar again and again. Across India, you will find resistance literature where they go build their temples again and again and again. So, just because our resistance that we didn't turn uncivilized and barbarians like those who conquered us does not mean we didn't resist. We held true to our principles and we resisted in the way we know best, which wasn't the same as going around massacring people, destroying things and so on and so forth. So, India, and this is probably the good thing as well as the bad thing about India in the sense that, Huntington used to say there's substance and salience. Substance is what connects us. We have a lot of that, because a southern Hindu will always consider the northern rivers sacred. And a northern Hindu will have no problems coming to Tirupati as one of the Shakti sthals and, the 12 Jyotirlingas around the country. In the south also they'll come to that. So both Shaivism and Vaishnavism have this thing of connecting. The problem is, because we are an absorptive religion, we basically connect through osmosis. We learn our religion through osmosis. We don't go to religious classes. Unlike Catholics who have a catechism and then a confirmation and all of that. We don't do that. We don't have to go to a madrasa to learn our book. We absorb it from our parents. We don't study it textually in that sense. We don't, and because we went on absorbing faiths, smaller deities and things like that into the Hindu pantheon. We've never had this thing of who we are not. And in that sense, where, there was this very beautiful term that I really liked that the Roman Empire used to use for the Mediterranean. It was called Mare Nostrum, our sea, And there the thing was, if you look at Rome perpetrated a lot of violence for commercial purposes and imperial purposes, but seldom for religious purposes. So when they go to Greece, for example, Jupiter gets identified with Zeus. Venus gets identified with Aphrodite. When they conquer Egypt, Ra becomes Zeus, Isis becomes Aphrodite, so on and so forth. So there's this syncretism, which is what you see in Hinduism. So there were lots of hundreds and hundreds of thousands of tribal gods and native gods and whatever, who all get absorbed into the whole. And it in no way compromises their belief systems. You can have festivals like you do in Nepal, where cows are still slaughtered, where buffaloes are still slaughtered. And in the rest of India, where even buffalo slaughter would be looked down upon as absolute no-go kind of thing. So it wasn't compromising cultures and things like that. So it's allowing individualism, it is allowing tolerance, and it is allowing firm civic resistance that follows the principles of dharma in the modern context law. Now you tell me, how is that any different from capitalism and the American value system, right? An emphasis on the individual growth, individual this thing. You never punish success. In fact, one of the things we should be doing is we should be promoting Chanakya as Arthashastra as the arch-capitalist manifesto. You have a communist manifesto, the Arthashastra is the capitalist manifesto. It is pure, undiluted. I'm sorry, my dogs are up here, as you can. Well, you can't see them, but they're trying to get some attention. They're bored. I'm sorry, self-isolation and all of that. But so these are quintessential values. The American dream has always been the Hindu dream in that sense. Do well for yourself, do well for your family, don't judge people. If you resist within the bounds of the law. No going around blowing yourself up, hijacking planes and driving them flying them into the World Trade Center. None of that rubbish. And most of all, it is individualism that contributes to society. Socialism never works. We've seen this over and over again. So when you have the American left coming and saying socialism with a vengeance, I don't see this is going down another extremely dangerous Hindu-phobic. Socialism is Hindu-phobia. Let me stress this in no uncertain terms. Socialism is the celebration of mediocrity. It is the celebration of third-ratedness. It is the dumbing down of society. No good can come of it, and that is never a Hindu principle.
Excellent points, and it was a music to my ears, to say it very succinctly. Now, coming to probing that into you, one thing is remarkable about the Hindu community, that they are not complainers. They don't complain. But at the same time, we have seen the other communities, and we all know who cry victimhood 24/7. And while being the aggressors, they are the aggressors. And when somebody stands up to them, they become victims. So that is another community, and everybody understands who I'm talking about without taking their name. Now, when we as a Hindu community are called in the American society as weak, as people who cannot fight, who have never stood up in battle. This is the propaganda by the universities like Harvard and Stanford against the American Hindu communities. Now, what is
But
our
see,
view
that doesn't
reply to that?
this doesn't surprise me one bit at all, because what it is like I said, socialism is the celebration of weakness, third-ratedness, victimhood wherever they go. So when you see a community like the Hindu community, and like Hindus aren't just Indians, let's remember that.
Correct.
There's a lot more Hindus.
Correct.
So why is it that despite having such a diverse set of grievances, Hindus don't go around blowing up themselves or blowing up buildings or flying planes into buildings? I mean, there's something wrong out here, right? Or something right out here in this case. You look at income, all right? In the UK, for example, and this is a pattern that follows across the board.
Correct.
Why is it that immigrants from India, Hindus, are either the first or the second highest income community, but those from Pakistan and Bangladesh are amongst the bottom? There's got to be a reason for it, right? What is the level of Hindu crime in America? What is the reason for it? What is the per capita income of Hindus in America? There's a reason for it, right? There is consistently a pattern that we are now being punished for not being victims. We are being punished for being law-abiding. We are being punished for being successful. Why? Because their utility is for whiners. They want to turn us into a community of whiners so that they can then exploit us for electoral purposes. And and I have to say this, even if we lose the Democrats as a constituency, please don't turn into a bunch of whiners, because there is nothing worse than whiners and people with an acute inferiority complex and zero self-respect.
Absolutely right. Absolutely. I think you hit the nail point. and I'm amazed at your insights. You have fantastic insights into even the American society. Now, one of the things that comes up as a challenge to American Hindus is the mischaracterization by the leftist media. Now, one statistic says, so in the American Hindus article which I wrote yesterday, I roughly calculated that we are approximately 9 million definitely. And but the Western media and the academics, when they calculate Hindus, they calculate only Hindus from India, but they don't calculate Hindus from all over the world and also Americans who have accepted Hinduism. And there are a lot of closet Hindus which have not come out. If you go to any part, there are people, regular Americans who love Hinduism. They love Ganesha, they love Shiva, but they may still go to the church. But
Of
when they
course.
come and they also go to the temple, they may have Christian names. So
Yeah.
the census is miscalculating many of these people to just to show that Hindu community is less, but in fact it is much more. The
Right. So, there's two issues involved here. One is, Hinduism doesn't believe in, for monotheists, it's one God. It's like the Christian marriage vow. I accept you to the exclusion of all others. It's between one man and one woman. Hinduism, in that sense, is religious polygamy, polyandry, polyamory, whatever. You can go worship you can worship any god you want outside the pantheon. It doesn't really matter. It's Hinduism is a state of mind. You see, it's a very, it's just, it doesn't have one set of beliefs. It's just really cool. You be you. That is Hinduism. You know that thing. You be
yes,
you.
yes,
That's Hinduism. You just be you. Be comfortable. We're not here to shame you. Just feel good about yourself.
yes,
That's it. Right? We're not about putting you down. We're about giving you an ego boost and just chill.
sure,
Don't get an ego. Don't get an inferiority complex. Just chill out and be relaxed in whatever form, shape, body, employment, whatever you're in. So this is one thing. But the second problem is, and this is something we've noticed with jurisprudence in India, because Hindu traditions are all oral and passed down, and India's jurisprudence comes from the British, which is textual, the religions of the book, so Christianity and Islam, always in judicial pronouncements, take precedence because they have a written down canon. And an oral canon is somehow deemed inferior to a written canon. And this becomes very, very problematic. Now, this comes to the third point, which is why do academics just count us as Hindus from India? Because you see, it's a cyclic, you scratch my back, I scratch yours kind of business. What these people do is they want to show that Indians are minuscule, well, Hindus are minuscule, they can be ignored, therefore just count them as that 1.5 million. I think we should turn this to our advantage. Because we're 9 million, we need to mobilize these 9 million people to deliver, kick in their no good keister, to use an Americanism, when it comes to actual electoral mathematics. Of course, there again, there's a problem, because the thing is, when you say Hindus from India, Hindus in general in India have a long history of collaboration. Like we discussed in our last conference, Prithviraj Chauhan's son was made king by Gauri, which nobody wants to talk about. And on the other hand, the Hindu history of Bengal. Siraj-ud-Dawla was a horrible, horrible tyrant. We literally worship Robert Clive for freeing us from that tyrant. 1757 was our first independence, and then 1857 was the Second War of Independence. So, there's also good reasons for that collaboration. And remember, even that collaboration was what kept us Hindu. There's a famous Iqbal shairi, मिट गए रोमा मिट गए मिस्र पर हम something है आओ बन के शिवालय बनाए, something like that. I forget the exact, I'm not very good with Urdu, but this is true. At one point of time, Spain was a Muslim majority country. Why is it that countries with a far older civilization like Egypt and Mesopotamia, Rome and Greece, that had such great philosophical depth, how did they all just get wiped? How did their native religions get wiped out? And us, allegedly, with our crude philosophy, managed to survive. And us being, these helpless, useless nation of quislings. How did we survive? So remember, we also need to understand we need to weaponize quislingery. It's good to have quislings, but learn how to use those quizzes.
Yes. So I think it's very interesting that you put many points, wonderful points together. My one of my questions to you is now related to the Islamic influence in the Indian in the American community. So what has happened is the South Asian politics, of appeasement of a particular sect of people has come in play again. So Abhijit, the South Asian politics has entered American society during this election phase, and where the Pakistanis and mostly I refer to them as mostly Islamists have taken a purposeful campaign against the American Hindu community, and they have tried to affect in a big way in elections, and they've all lost. Now they're wondering. Now they're wondering after they take a step, and now they start thinking, and they are saying that the reason why we have lost in this particular incident of elections and against the American Hindu community is that the American Hindu community has put more resources than the entire state of Pakistan put together. And it is just like the grapes are sour, So they are the ones who put all the money, and they lost it. And American Hindu community has not put, not even 2% of what they put in. But still, we come out to be victorious, and now they're campaigning that American community is too well organized. So, yes, go ahead.
So there's two aspects to this. One is I thank them for projecting this image of us and you know this very well, that we're not organized at all. If you put, this is a Malayali joke, but if you put 10 Indians in a room, you'll have 226 opinions, unfortunately. And this has always been problematic in organizing the Hindu community as a whole, which is fine. I mean, that's one of the charms of the Hindu community in a sense.
Yes.
That's why I'm gay, I'm an atheist, and still I identify as a Hindu, and everybody accepts me as a Hindu. See, nobody will tell me I'm not a Hindu.
Yes.
So it's and a beefeater to boot, and nobody tells me. They'll come up and say, "Mat kijiye, humko dukh hota hai," but nobody says. They can't turn around and say you're not a Hindu. See, that's the beauty of it. Nobody can actually exclude you if you want to get included into it. So, so one of the things is that we're not organized. It's our strength, but it's also a weakness. And just because we won a few rounds doesn't mean we should always accept that not being organized will allow us to keep winning rounds. That said, look at the scale of our victory. Despite this constant campaign, malignant, nasty campaign, assisted, aided, and abetted. And mind you, I accuse the New York Times, Washington Post, Wall Street Journal of trying to instigate violence against Hindus. They are genuinely praying and hoping to see to it that Hindus get killed in a sense. Now, these guys, in spite of their editorial boards going hammer and tongs, in spite of all these, Chunnu Puddu Congress persons, Ilhan Omar, that wannabe clown Pramila Jaipal, who else? Every now and then somebody may. Rokhana, does he even count? He's such a Puddu, he's not even worth counting in the whole scheme of things. Anyway, let's not get personal and into that. Who has actually spoken up for Pakistan? Bernie Sanders put out a few tweets. Where is Bernie Sanders in the Democratic primaries? He's nowhere to be seen in the Democratic primaries right now. He's been losing state after state after state, and it's been going to Biden, who has said nothing about India. He hasn't opened his mouth about India. He's kept absolutely quiet. The American administration has said nothing about India. Barack Obama said nothing about India. You look at all the major Democrats, proper Democrats, who are in the system. They have said nothing about India. So, we need to learn this from IPAC, for example, that we need to organize ourselves carefully, but also remember, tactically, never put your eggs in one basket.
Correct.
Reward a party that you see as being pro-India, but never tie yourself down to that one party. That's very, very important. And coming from a religion that originated this term shades of grey. 50 Shades of Grey is a Hindu concept. Let's be clear about that. We seem to have a curiously black and white view of things. We need to basically be, right now, I'd say Republicans serve our interests better. But at the same time, we also need to ensure that we incentivize Democrats also to not go against us.
Yes.
And it requires some great fine tuning, which I don't think the government of India is capable of. The government of India and its many organs and bodies are capable of, because remember, most of them are JNU graduates. What can you expect from a JNU graduate? I would much rather place my trust in Americans like you, who understand the layout of the ground and know how to manipulate and exploit the situation for the benefit of the community.
Yeah. No, thank you. And I think you laid out, it's always a pleasure, Abhijit, to speak with you. I know you have a next interview coming on. And I really value your deep insights into the social issues that you put out together. In the next discussion, I want to talk to you about decoupling Indian universities from Western universities. See, what happens is that the Harvard University is a vicious cycle. Howard University lays out so they have become the judge, the juror, the victim, and everything. So
Yeah.
it's a black box. So you cannot enter there. And their chair of the Department of Hindu Studies is actually a practicing Christian. This is a Macaulaism part 2. And then Stanford is the same situation. And it's a vicious cycle because the Indian universities try their hard to connect with Howard. And the Howard says, if you follow me, then we're going
Look, I've always, we need to write off Harvard. I don't know why we take Harvard, Stanford, all these guys as the barometer through which we measure our own self-worth. Tell me, what can Harvard Law School teach you that some other law school, do they teach you some extraordinary method of arguing? No. It's all about the networking. You're paying for the name and for the networking. In that sense, it's just a glorified brothel. It's just that the services provided by the madam are different. And, the pleasure is, it's not sexual pleasure, though it can also be sexual pleasure, going by the way Harvard goes these days. But look, these are just glorified brothels. Nothing more, nothing less. I have seen places, so for example, in Albuquerque, the University of Albuquerque, New Mexico in Albuquerque, for example, has a little nuclear reactor, okay, where you can do students of nuclear physics and things like that, including students of nuclear strategy or nuclear safety like me, can actually go do experiments out there. They have a fantastic department of strategic studies and international politics that they're building up. Don't focus on getting, don't be Modi number 2. Modi seeks the validation of people who will never give him validation. Don't go down that path. Focus on other universities that we can get into, grab them young, and frame them the way we want to frame them, stuff them the way we want to stuff them, so on and so forth.
So we will discuss that in our next talk, and viewers, stay tuned. It's always our endeavor to give a dharmic perspective and on everything that we do. Thank you all and welcome, and thank you so much, Abhijit ji. We'll speak again.
Har har.